Hey, welcome back. Thanks for watching. This will be part two of viewer questions. I'll link video or part one at this video so you can watch them together. And I'll probably just post them back to back. So maybe part one day, and then the next video I post will be this part two. So anyway, going through the most common questions asked in the comments that I get on my videos. And I will say in this video too that I do have a phone number if you want to text with me. Just include your name and where you're from. And that number is 618-608-0152. And you can ask questions there. I'm a little more open there than I am here to the public. But that being said, if you do have a question that you don't want to ask publicly, why just send it privately through the text messaging, and I will reply back. And I won't contact you, so don't think that if you are sending me your number that I'm going to contact you, because I will not do that. I will just reply to messages that you send to me. So anyway, and if it gets to be too much, I'll just block you. How's that? But anyway, so with that being said, this is part two, and again, I've got part one that I'll link to this. But anyway, so the next question that I have is, how do I pull money from my 401k? So, so my 401k is managed with Fidelity. And so I have just set it up. The money that I have left in my 401k, let me say it this way. A good majority of the money I had in my 401k, I rolled over to an IRA, and my financial advisor handles that. But I did leave money in my 401k, and it's in cash, most of it. There is a little bit that's still in the S&P 500, but not much. But there is mostly cash there, and that's what I get my monthly income off of. So I determined through working a budget app, trying to figure out my budget before I retired, and I figured out how much I needed each month or how much I wanted each month. And then I just called Fidelity and told them, hey, from my 401k each month, I need a certain amount of dollars. And then so every month on the 5th of the month, that money is then, that amount is pulled out of my 401k and is transferred into my brokerage account that's also with Fidelity. And so it just comes from the 401k into my brokerage, and it sits there until I need it. And then at some point throughout the month, I will then transfer money from my brokerage into my local bank to use, my checking account and savings and that type of stuff. And so that's how my money is handled essentially. So it just goes through my 401k automatically because of how I've got it set up into the brokerage. And then I've got a monthly transfer set up from my brokerage into my local bank, the checking and savings account I have there. And so it's really simple. I just called Fidelity and told them what I wanted and went through some of the details. And since then, which I started that in January of this year, and as it is now, here it is April, and things have been went smoothly. I've not had any issues or glitches or anything with that process. So that's how I get money out of my 401k to be able to use. Let's see here. What have I learned since retirement that I wish I had known before retirement? So my story is a little different in the fact that I realized about 4 months prior to my retiring that I had enough money to retire. And so I didn't really have enough time planned or enough time allotted for me to make any kind of plans, because as I've said in another video that I can also link to this, I thought when I went into my financial advisor March of 2024 that I had about 4 years worth of work. And I was going to, from that meeting, I was going to begin to change things to set myself up to retire successfully. And then from that meeting, I found out I don't need to work 4 more years. And essentially, I worked 4 months more. But that being said, probably what I would do, knowing what I know now, I would have began to put more money into my brokerage and more money into cash instead of having it all just in the market and in my 401k. I would have been more prepared that way, and I probably would have been more diligent to get my house paid off or paid down more. Now, I don't regret what I've done in retiring, what I did, but if I would have had 4 years, a 4-year window, like I was thinking I was going to have, those are the things I would have done. I would have cut back on my 401k. I would have taken the company match, but I would have begun to put in a brokerage and put in more saving for cash, and then also, or probably before I even put into cash, I would probably begin to concentrate on getting my house paid down. But that being said, that didn't work out just because of the timing of how everything worked out. So anyway, so that's the one thing I didn't realize before I retired that I would in the first 6 months of retirement, how I'll say it this way, it's not going to come out the way I mean it, but I wasn't prepared for how worried I was going to be about money. Now that being said, it didn't consume me, but it was always on the top of my mind about the growth and all that. But in the past few months, the past 3 months or so, those worries and those concerns have really died way down, and so I don't think about them nearly as much as I did the first 6 months of my retirement. So, and I wasn't prepared for that. I really didn't think that after retirement that I would be that too concerned or worried about it. But I would say for those first 6 months, I use the word worried. Maybe that's not the right word, but that's what comes to mind. That it was just always on top of mind, and I was still working budget sheets and planning and that type of stuff. But that's kind of, like I said, calmed down in the last 3 months. So good on that. Another question I have is, did I downsize? Certainly, we probably could, but we haven't. Really, we haven't changed much of our lifestyle at all since prior to retirement. Now, I will say that when I spend money, I think about it more than what I did before I retired. And so in that regard, maybe I'm downsizing, maybe mentally, because when I think about it, I'm spending this money that I will not ever get back. Whereas when I was working, you always knew you had a paycheck coming. You always knew, hey, I have 2 days of overtime next week, or I've got a bonus coming in, or I've got this, that, and the other coming that I know I'm going to have money. Maybe not right now, but I will next week or the week after. And that's not the way it is in retirement. Retirement, the money you spend is the money that you've got. And, now obviously, you're invested and you're growing, but the mental thought of, if I spend this money, I don't have it back, is something that I really wasn't prepared for. But we didn't downsize. We didn't change really anything as far as our spending goes. But again, I probably watch it closer now than I did. But as far as downsizing, no, we've not done that. Let's see. Another question I had was, why retire? And I'm like, why not? Why give my time and my effort to an entity that really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't care about me and replaces me as soon as I'm gone? Why would I want to continue to give my time and effort to that when I can live off the fruit of my labor and enjoy the retirement that I have with my grandkids and my family and doing the things that I want to do? And so it's not necessarily that I hated my job. It's not that I hated the people I worked with. It's not that I despised that whole process. But there came a point in my life where I realized I don't have to give this entity my time and effort anymore, and I can concentrate and do things that I want to do when I want to do that. And so that's why I retired. It wasn't in spite of anything. It wasn't shaking my fist at the world or the man. It was time for me to retire. And I may get a job one of these days. I may find something else to do right now. But right now, in the first year of my retirement, I'm enjoying my time off. I'm enjoying doing the things that I do. And it's really been comforting and really a nice thought to know that I don't have to get up to go to work. And I don't have to work nights anymore. And I don't have to work in all the weather and all that. So anyway, I think that's all the questions. So part 1 and part 2, this video went a little longer than I intended, but I'm going to finish up here. Say thanks for watching. God bless. I'll link video 1 in this here on this one, and you can watch them. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks. Well, my button's not working.